Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at a normal difficulty scepter. This is the Grand Scepter, and it is called Rusthandle. Rusthandle is a relatively interesting item. It does have a lot of variables on it, though, and I feel like that is one of its big downfalls, is that a lot of the times when people find this particular item, it's not really in its best state. We'll take a look at it as we go along. So right off the bat, you'll see that it is 15 to 35 damage, which is not bad for a level 18 item, with a strength requirement of only 37, which is relatively low. We have a fast attack speed, which is the speed of this particular weapon, the Grand Scepter, and it has no additional attack speed, which is unfortunate. We got +1 to Paladin skills right off the bat, which is definitely very nice. A 60% ED, which does vary between 50 to 60. It adds 3 to 7 damage, and we also get a 100 to 110% on damage to Undead bonus. Now, because this is a Grand Scepter, it already had 50%, so it's really only getting 50 to 60% bonus on top of the normal bonus to Undead. We've got 8% lifesteal, which is static. We also have +3 to Vengeance. Now, this is the real issue with this particular item, is that the Vengeance does vary between 1 to 3. And then we have +3 to Thorns, and magic damage reduced by 1. So when you put this item on, it will actually give you +3 to Vengeance, which is very nice. And it will also give you +3 to Thorns, which is not exactly the right skill to pair with Vengeance, in my opinion. And Thorns has been lackluster for a relatively long period of time. Now, interestingly enough, in Update 2.4, which is coming, they're talking about beefing up Thorns, which might necessarily make Rusthandle actually pretty nice. Especially considering that Rusthandle never was a relatively high-level item in the first place, and Thorns is also relatively good at low levels. So if they're beefing up Thorns, and this gives you +3 to Thorns at level 18, maybe in the upcoming update, you might be building a Thorns Paladin, and this would give you +4 to Thorns, which would be a rather large amount to Thorns. And I'm actually kind of curious to see whether they will actually be able to fix Thorns or not. It's going to be interesting. We also have some very interesting things going on here with this weapon. So, it's kind of pointed toward a Vengeance Paladin. It has relatively good damage. It has lifesteal, and it has a rather large bonus to undead damage, which is kind of high for a rather low-level character. So, what can you do with this particular weapon? Well, I mean, at level 18, when you find this weapon, it's actually not a bad weapon at all to use for a paladin. In fact, I would even say it's not even a bad weapon to use for a non-paladin, with the 8% lifesteal, the bonus damage to undead, the 60% ED that's on it, and it's relatively fast. I mean, you could use this on a barbarian or a druid or something if it's just the only thing that you happen to have handy. And Vengeance in particular is a conversion of your physical damage into elemental damage. So we need to kind of look at the physical damage of this item. So when you look at it, it's only 41 to 88 physical damage. And I believe I have some sort of... Yeah, I've got some bonus damage equipment here, which we need to take off. There's also poison damage on the gloves. So 29 to 68. And when you go to Vengeance, you'll see that Vengeance converts your physical damage into elemental damage. And we're at level 24 because of this Rusthandle, because it's giving us +4 to Vengeance in total, which is not terrible. If you look at it, it's 448%. And if we take it off, it goes down to 424%. So those +4 skills actually give quite a bit of damage, especially when you consider the fact that it's across 3 different elements. So we're not just getting a bonus of, what is that, 24, 34, 44, 24, 34. So about, 24% is what we're getting at times 3. Because we're getting 24% fire, 24% cold, and 24% lightning. So it's a very nice little bump in damage there as far as Vengeance is concerned. Now, issues with this item. Vengeance is a relatively high mana cost skill. As you can see at level 24, it's 9.7 mana, which is a lot of mana, especially when you consider the fact that low-level paladins around level 18 probably have a mana pool all of maybe 50 mana points. So you're going to burn through it really fast. It would have been nice if they were focusing this on a Vengeance Paladin, if they had actually given the Vengeance this ability, this item, some Mana Steal. I feel like Mana Steal would have been a good choice here, especially considering that Vengeance doesn't really do a lot of physical damage, and it's really hard to get mana when you're dealing mostly elemental damage. The Thorns, I don't really think pairs very well with Vengeance, but really nothing pairs very well with Vengeance with the exception of Conviction, and Conviction's level 30. So I guess they're just kind of giving you something to use with Vengeance until later, which I suppose is better than nothing. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't know. I mean, later on, you're definitely going to be using Conviction with Vengeance, but the +4 to Thorns is just something that you can use until then. As a Vengeance Paladin, you tend to beef up most of your points into Vengeance itself, and also into the synergies for Vengeance, which are the resist fire, resist cold, and resist lightning. And then eventually you'll put 1 point into Salvation, and you also will beef up Holy Shield and Conviction when you finally get down to that level. But it's kind of an interesting thing. It just gives you an aura to use until later on when you can get the appropriate one. So I guess that's kind of nice. You can, of course, upgrade this particular item. So let's take a look and see what the upgrade would be, shall we? So we're going to upgrade this first with a shale and a towel. And we're going to upgrade the ethereal version as well. Why not? And we need 2 emeralds. So the ethereal version just has more damage. It's 22 to 50. And unfortunately, because it does not have any type of repairs mechanic, if you did find it in the ethereal form, it might be a use it and throw away kind of item. I doubt you're ever going to waste a Zod rune in something like this, but let's go ahead and upgrade both of these, at least to their second tier, and then we'll upgrade them to the third tier too, why not? So we got 15 to 35 with a strength requirement of 37 and a level requirement of 18, which is going to go up to... Did I get the wrong set? I think I did. I think it's Ral Soul. I always mess this up. I swear. 25 to 64 with a strength requirement of 76 and a level requirement of 30. So it's actually not a bad 1-tier upgrade. I'm not going to lie. 25 to 64 damage is not bad for level 30. It could be a little bit higher, but you're also still getting the bonus damage to Undead, the lifesteal, and the Vengeance. So maybe if you were specifically using this on a Vengeance Paladin, +4 to Vengeance wouldn't actually be a terrible thing. So let's grab another Ral and a Soul Rune. And we're going to upgrade the Ethereal, which goes to 36 to 93 damage with strength requirement of 66 and a level of 30. All right, so let's upgrade this one more time to see if the the Hell version is anywhere near viable, which I really doubt. But let's go ahead and do it anyway. So I believe it's going to be a Pull and a Lum, if I remember correctly, and an Emerald. Let me just try that out real quick. So we've got 25 to 64 with a level requirement of 30 and 76 strength. And that goes to 75 to 93 with a strength requirement of 108 and a level of 69. So definitely not worth the third upgrade. The Seraph Rod, which is the final tier, is way too high of a level and strength requirement for relatively no damage. 75 to 93 is absolutely nothing compared to a much nicer Elite or Nightmare version item. Let's go ahead and upgrade the Ethereal one, though, just for fun. And we get our Pull Rune, and our Lem Rune, and our Emerald, and our Rusthandle Holy Water Sprinkler as 36 to 93 with 66 strength and 30 level requirement, to 110 to 136 level 59 dexterity, 98 strength, and 69 level requirement. So, you know, like the damage on the ethereal version is actually closer to what might actually be viable around this level. But unfortunately, because it's ethereal, it's not going to work. And I definitely would not put a Zod rune in that. So what's my final verdict on this? 1-tier upgrade might actually be okay. But 2-tier upgrade all to the Hell version for this particular item is just not worth it at all. It's definitely something that you would use on a lower level Paladin, something specifically for a Vengeance Paladin. It could be used on a non-Vengeance Paladin. You don't necessarily have to be a Vengeance Paladin, but I feel like there's a lot better choices for a non-Vengeance Paladin than this. If this is just what you happen to come by, then sure, go ahead and use it. It's going to be a pretty decent weapon for a little while. But I feel like you're going to outgrow it relatively quickly. Probably by the time you're around level 40, 45, you're probably going to be pining for a better weapon with higher damage at that point. And because Vengeance specifically requires a high physical damage weapon, I think you're going to find very quickly that the +4 to Vengeance is not really worth a whole lot when the weapon damage is actually relatively low. Because the problem with Vengeance is that it is based off of your weapon damage, and it doesn't matter if you had +99 to Vengeance skill. If the weapon damage was extremely low, it wouldn't be worth using. You need a relatively high damage weapon with Vengeance to get the nice bonus, which is why a lot of people will use Breath of the Dying, because Grief does not work. And there's really not a lot more to say about this particular item. It certainly is an interesting low-level scepter. It could be a halfway decent mid to low-level scepter, but I feel like once you get past level 40, it's just not worth using anymore. And it has limited uses outside of its specific purpose. I mean, if you were a hammered in and you just wanted +1 to Paladin skills and you didn't have anything else handy, you could throw it on for a little bit just to have the +1. Maybe you actually are building Thorns. +4 to Thorns is actually very nice. And if you were building Thorns, you might not necessarily be so concerned about the amount of damage that you're doing. Well, I feel like I've talked probably as much as I need to on the Rusthandle War Scepter, or rather, Rusthandle, what is it called? Grand Scepter. And I do appreciate you guys and gals watching this video, and keep watching.